Good evening and welcome back to another Sundown Surmisings. We are so glad you're here. February 12th. It's exciting to be together. And Deg, nice to see you.
It is good to see you too.
Yeah.
We are 6 weeks into this new year, which is hard to believe.
It really is, yeah.
I mean, it's like, didn't this just start, right? But January, whoo!
Yeah.
And now we're halfway through February, and it's just crazy because that's, it's like time moves. Whether you want it to or not, it's coming.
Yeah, one thing I took for granted in these experiences is that now that we have students back, and it's a little bit more of a rush, because it's your time and my time. Yeah. So this allows us to connect together. Yeah.
Yes. And I hope you get a chance to too. But at least for me, this is such a soul refreshing time to spend with PJ and God's Word and kind of go, okay, and relook at some of these stories in new ways, because we can't exhaust the book.
Right.
So that's a good thing. But hopefully along the way, in sharing something, you may gain something that will help you this next coming week, month, or something that will put on your back burner of your mind. Go, oh, I remember talking about that or hearing about that.
I was thinking about a phrase. I don't know if you've remembered, but I'm doing some lessons for our school from phrases. Life lessons from phrases.
Yeah, lessons from phrases.
And you've heard the 11th hour.
I like lessons from food, by the way.
Yeah, lessons from food. I did lessons from food last semester, and now it's life lessons from phrases. But you remember that phrase that says the 11th hour?
Yes, yeah.
We're in the 11th hour of doing this. We wanted to do this for a whole year.
And we're just about there.
Yeah, we are just about there. So it's kind of cool to be here.
Yeah, we started March.
March, yeah.
I have to go back and look it up.
Yeah.
I'll put it up, either here or there somewhere. Like, I can't believe it. You're at it. Yeah.
And it's been really cool to dig. We've kind of dug all the way through the Bible.
We have.
And as you pointed out last week, sometimes we dig in the same place.
Yes.
You and I, just for parts of it, we dig in the same place.
Yeah.
So where are we going tonight?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I thought this is in fact a story that we had visited earlier, looking at Jacob and what he had wrestled with in his life, and we touched on it earlier. We didn't, do it from this angle. We're going to look at a different angle. We're going to go to Genesis chapter 32. And we're going to look particularly verses 22 to 32. It's a famous passage. But to me, this is the most significant name change in the entire Bible. And maybe the most significant name change in the history of the world. Because out of this event will come the name of a people that we still use today.
Okay, well, take it away. And if you're reading along with us, either on your electronic device or with the actual paper version of the Bible, we're asked to join us on Genesis 32. And Deg usually uses the New King James version. I'm usually in the NIV. And so, but you may have a different version. That's great. Just follow along with us. And so, where are we going?
If you could go 22 through 24, and then we'll read some more, but I want to pause there a little bit.
Sure.
22 to 24.
All right, Genesis 32, here we go. During the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 slave women, and his 11 sons and crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream along with all of his possessions. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak.
Okay, now, if you don't know the story, it sounds like we just jumped into the middle of nowhere. Like, what is it? What? He split up his family, he sent him across the river. It's like, hey!
Right.
Okay, a little bit of a quick background is Jacob had been away from home for at least 20-some years.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. I'll try to see if I can figure out what the number there. But he left home with nothing, which is ironic because he was given the birthright. He stole the birthright from his brother. And now that is coming due. Right?
Now, the one thing in this story, and Deg, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jacob, through these years he's been gone, has done some transformation.
Yes.
I mean, he's changed a little bit.
Yes. Oh, last week you mentioned, that his name deceiver, right? So, that's actually a really good point. Almost forgot that. Jacob is named, is a constant remark. In fact, his uncle Laban points that out, and Esau points it out. Yeah, you were rightly named. His name is a deceiver or supplanter or a trickster. He would be, the equivalent we would have in our popular nomenclature would be a Loki. Somebody you can't quite trust.
Yes.
he weasels out of this and that, and that's kind of been his moniker.
Right.
Like, this is who you are. This is who you are. This is who you are.
Right.
And he's heard that, and this is probably ringing through his head. He's coming back home, and all of his chickens are coming back to roost, and he's got to pay this debt. He's got to face down his brother and everything that he's had his family, but now they get to see maybe some of the stuff that he's wanted to hide from them for so long.
Right.
Oh, because he's lived with this name, and it haunts him who he is.
Yes.
And this is part and parcel of what his legacy is. This trickster, this deceiver, this supplanter is how the King James will put it.
Okay.
So, all right, that's why he split him up. That's why he's praying. That's why he's wrestling. And he's wrestling till daybreak. Now,
Then why split them?
mm-hmm.
Well,
he figures...
Historically, we speak. Why
Historically, we read, he says later, he figures if Esau gets to one group and slaughters him, at least he'll have half his family or a quarter, because he actually splits them into 4 groups. And that should give him, buy him time. So he kind of sends him out in the sense of a sacrifice, because he knows his brother has anger issues.
Right.
And he's like, well, if one of them gets killed, then at least I've got this or this. Or
right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
It's a brilliant technique in the sense of, well, I might save something. So he sends them off 4, but he goes to pray and says, God, I'm out of options here. I need your help. And he's resting until daybreak. Now, I would like you to read 25, 26, 27, and 28. So the next 4 verses.
Okay. When the man saw, and again, the man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw he could not defeat Jacob, he struck at Jacob's hip socket as they wrestled and dislocated his hip. Mm-hmm. Then he said to Jacob, let me go, for it's daybreak. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. What is your name? The man asked. Jacob, he replied. Your name will no longer be Jacob, he said. It will be Israel, because you have struggled with God, with men, and have prevailed.
This is profound. So the nation of Israel to today, this is their name because of this event. There's so much in this, but what fascinates me is clearly Jesus is not outmatched. I mean, if I'm wrestling with somebody and he can touch me and I'm dislocating my hip, I'm beat, right?
Right.
I can do whatever. But Jacob realizes this is no ordinary person.
Right.
He's got some sort of, which is why he's going to ask his name. I'm not going to let you go. If I die trying, it's okay with me.
Uh-huh.
And I will not, and because think about it, he's asking for a blessing. He knows this isn't an enemy.
Right.
Right? You're not going to ask a blessing to somebody you don't think could give one.
Right.
But he says, I'm not going to let you go unless you bless me.
So he's understanding that someone is of authority and power.
Somebody he's dealing with has power and authority. If they can do that, they can bless him. And he's not letting go until you're going to have to basically pry your body out of my cold dead hands, right?
Yeah.
And he gets this name. Names are so significant to the Jewish culture. And as Jacob ends up naming his sons, we talked about Joseph last week.
Right.
But each son got a name, and he details it when Jacob is passing. He kind of gives some other details about it. But you can look up, name of Benjamin. And I always tell the kids, man, that's got to be hard if your name is not Benjamin to hear it, because we hear it as a name. Yes. We hear Joseph as a name. We hear Reuben as a name. We hear Judah as a name. But it meant something, mm-hmm. right? So my father named my brother and I biblical names. And those names, he was always keen on saying, we didn't have nicknames. I wasn't Dan. I wasn't Danny.
Okay.
My father was like, his name is Daniel, and that's it. In fact, my father was really keen on names, right? And this is important for the Jewish culture.
Right.
And I imagine Jacob, who's heard his whole life, you're a trickster, you're a deceitful, you're nothing but a supplanter. And this being, he's asked for a blessing.
Right.
This being's blessing is, I'm changing how you see yourself and how others see you. This is your name.
Yeah.
Forget what other people have said, because it only matters what I say. You are now a prince. You are now one who's wrestled with God and prevailed. You've hung in there. You have done the big work. And I'm thinking, that's enough for Jacob.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't say, oh, that's great. Can I have a pot of gold? Whatever. All he wanted
Is a new name.
is a new name.
Yeah.
A new legacy, a new history.
Wow.
And I think that goes unappreciated because it's like, it was several weeks ago you talked about the paralytic being let down, right?
Yes.
And Jesus forgives his sins and he's okay with that.
Yeah.
He doesn't ask for anything more. He's like, oh, that's it. That's why I'm good.
Yeah.
It's only because the Pharisees said, well, wait a second, you can't just forgive sins. And he's like, oh, which is easier? Get up and walk. And the guy walks, right?
Yeah.
Jacob gets this new name. He's crippled. And he doesn't ask, oh, can you fix this?
Right.
The name is good.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful how God looks at us.
Well, it's amazing because you talked about the kind of reminder of that. And for the people and his uncle, his brother, the deceiver.
Yeah.
And now he has, every time he takes a step,
yes,
he has a new reminder.
Yes, that's why I wanted another thing that hit me with this story is it goes on and, well, I'm just going to read the 51 and 52 because it seems kind of strange. He passed over Peniel, the sun rose high, and he halted upon his thigh. Verse 31, 32. Therefore, the children of Israel do not eat of the sinew which shrank, which is the hollow of the thigh, unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh and the sinew that shrank. And it's just a strange little detail that says, and that's why we don't eat this, boys and girls, right? So when you have a leg of lamb, you don't eat this part where it attaches because the whole leg attachment kind of thing, right? But for Jacob, so it says later, he leans upon his staff for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And it made me think when I was kind of reviewing it, Psalm 23 says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Well, I shall not lack anything. I have all that I need.
Yes.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. Okay, all that's really cool. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake.
Right.
That's also cool. It's like, in other words, God does this for his name's sake, not necessarily
for us.
For us. It's for him. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, which is where Jacob is at.
Right.
Shadow of death. Either his family's dying or he's dying, he's facing, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me.
Right.
I was with him. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. It's the same thing. For the rest of his life, Jacob walks upon his staff and is reminded, I need this. It's a constant reminder of my dependence, my need of dependence upon a God who blessed me with a new name. And he was okay with that. Yep. If I have to walk crippled the rest of my life, but I'm no longer deceitful, mistrusted, misjudged, and God sees me as this way, I'm okay.
That is fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what a testament for us.
Yeah.
Today's world to understand, for us to see that we may have the marks. Yeah. We may have the scars. Yeah. But God sees us differently. Yeah. Because of Jesus Christ and his blood and the sacrifice he makes, he goes, I give you a new name. You're a different person. Yeah. You may still... And some of those scars we may carry, but they're a reminder, this is where God stepped in. Yeah. Right? Oh, I like that line, God stepped in. That's really cool. Well, we thank you again for joining us. We're so glad that you joined us. Hey, one thing, if you have some thoughts or ideas, please send those to us, especially if you have a direction you want us to go. Principal at MontereyBayAcademy.org or Gregory at MontereyBayAcademy.org. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. God bless you. Bye. Bye.